Hello everybody, Vibes of a Wildlife here. Welcome to another video where we dive into the heart, humor, and unexpected life lessons from the animal kingdom. Alright, here's a question that's been scrambled, fried, and flipped every way imaginable. What came first, the chicken or the egg? You've heard the debate. You've probably had it over brunch. And depending on who you asked, you either got a science lesson, a shrug, or someone saying, "Does it matter if I'm just here for the biscuits?" But today we're cracking it open with a twist. Because maybe it's not just about chickens or eggs. Maybe it's about what we do when life hands us a question that doesn't have a clean answer. Do we argue? Do we Google it? Do we sit with the unknown and still show up anyway? See, this isn't just nature's riddle. It's nature's reminder that not everything needs to be solved to be understood. And that sometimes the real story isn't about who hatched first. It's about who had the nerve to keep going anyway. So before we get into it, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe. Because when it comes to wild questions and even wilder answers, this channel's got more layers than an egg has shells. Now let's talk about chickens, eggs, and that little thing called attitude. This whole chicken or egg thing, it didn't start with farmers or foodies. It's actually one of philosophy's oldest headaches. We're talking ancient Greece. Even Aristotle took a swing at it, and the man was out here trying to figure out everything. He basically said they both had to exist at the same time, somehow. Which is a very fancy way of saying, I don't know either, bro. Biologists eventually jumped in and said, well, technically the egg came first, just not the chicken egg. They point to evolution, mutations, and ancient creatures laying eggs long before anything even remotely resembled a chicken. Makes sense on paper. But the second you try to explain that over Sunday brunch, people look at you like you just ruined the omelet. So why does this debate keep showing up? Simple. It's the perfect little loop, cause and effect chasing each other in circles. It's the kind of question that pokes at something deep in us, the need to know where things begin. Because humans, we love a clean timeline, a before and after, a this led to that story arc. But nature doesn't always care about our flowcharts. Sometimes the truth is messy, sometimes it's layered, and sometimes it doesn't show up with a neat little bow and a Wikipedia citation. But that doesn't stop us from asking, because at the end of the day, we're not just chasing answers. We're chasing a sense of meaning in the chaos. And this one question, it hits all the pressure points. Here's where science steps in and says, all right, y'all, let's clear this up. And from an evolutionary standpoint, yeah, the egg came first. No question. There were reptiles, amphibians, and fish laying eggs long before chickens ever strutted onto the scene. We're talking millions of years of animals dropping eggs like it was their full-time job. But, and it's a big but, those weren't chicken eggs. They were just eggs. Somewhere along the evolutionary line, two almost chickens, let's call them proto-chickens, mated, and boom, a genetic mutation created the first true chicken, and that baby hatched from an egg, which means the egg technically delivered the chicken, not the other way around. So yeah, biology gives us an answer, but it's not exactly satisfying, is it? Like sure, technically the egg came first, but it feels like we skipped past the heart of the question. Like someone gave us a scientific receipt when what we really wanted was a good story. Because deep down, this debate isn't just about timing. It's about beginnings. It's about identity. And evolution, while brilliant, doesn't always give us that poetic full circle moment we're looking for. It answers the how, but kind of leaves the why hanging in the air. Now here's where it gets real. Not scientific, but personal. This question sticks with us because it's not just about biology. It's about that weird space we all find ourselves in sometimes, between what was and what will be. The not knowing, the waiting. And let's be honest, most of us aren't great with that. We like resolution, we like facts, we want to know. But life doesn't always hand us answers right away. Sometimes it hands us silence, or worse, time. Think about it. Before a chicken hatches, there's a whole lot of nothing going on. Just an egg sitting there, still and quiet. But inside, something wild is happening. Growth, change, a whole transformation, but none of it's visible. And that's what messes with us. We're so focused on the moment something cracks open that we forget how sacred the stillness before it really is. Ideas are like that too. Growth is like that. You don't always get to see the progress while it's happening. You just sit with it. And that's the drama, the real drama. Not the moment the chicken bursts out. It's the slow, silent build that came before it. The tension of not knowing when, or if, anything will come of it at all. That space, that's where most of life actually happens. Here's the wild part, literally. Out in the animal kingdom, nobody's losing sleep over this question. Nature? She's not worried about which came first. She's too busy moving forward, adapting, surviving, thriving in the middle of chaos without ever needing all the answers lined up in a neat little row. Animals don't wait for perfect conditions to act. A penguin doesn't pause to Google the weather before nesting. A lioness doesn't file a strategic plan before hunting. And chickens? They protect their eggs like royalty. No timeline, no existential breakdown. Just instinct, purpose, and care. They don't need to know which came first, they just show up for what's here now. And that's something we forget, right? We get so caught up in needing control, needing clarity, needing everything to make sense before we make a move. But nature reminds us, life doesn't wait on certainty. It just goes. Even when things feel unclear, even when tomorrow's a question mark. The chicken doesn't freeze up wondering if the egg is part of some ancient loop. It lays it, sits on it, guards it, keeps it warm, then does it all again. That's patience. That's trust. That's presence over perfection. And there's something powerful in that. So, what does come first? Here's the thing. Maybe it's not the chicken. Maybe it's not the egg. Maybe what really comes first is how you handle not knowing. That space between curiosity and certainty, that's where things get real. Because life's full of questions that don't have clean answers. And sometimes the best thing you can bring to the table isn't a solution. It's your attitude. Your ability to sit in the unknown without losing your mind. Curiosity, patience, a little trust in the process. That's the real first move. Think about it. Evolution didn't happen overnight. Nature didn't roll out the chicken in one go. It was messy, slow, full of trial and error. But the system kept moving because it didn't need everything figured out at once. It just needed to keep showing up, keep adapting. So yeah, maybe the mystery doesn't need solving. Maybe it just needs respecting. And maybe the question isn't what came first, but are you okay not having the full answer yet? If you can be cool with that, if you can stay curious instead of frustrated, flexible instead of rigid, that's when you start to move forward. That's when you come first. Here's the truth. The chicken and egg question, it's not some ancient riddle we're supposed to crack. It's a mirror. A way to check in with how we handle the in-between moments, when the answers don't come easy and the path isn't clear. And that space? That wobble between what was and what's next, that's where the wisdom lives. Because sometimes, the most growth doesn't happen when you get the answer. It happens while you're waiting for it, learning to stay curious, stay grounded, and not lose your cool in the process. So if that speaks to you, even just a little, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe for more animal life lessons with a twist. We're not just here for facts, we're here for the feeling behind them. And before you go, here's one to chew on. What's your version of the chicken and egg dilemma, and how do you handle the wait? With that said, thanks for watching. And until next time, don't be afraid to sit with the scramble. Sometimes that's where the recipe starts.